On the 28th of February 2026, joint U.S. and Israeli strikes hit their target. In his office in Tehran, Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei was killed. The very next day, the country declared 40 days of mourning, launched retaliatory missile strikes, and formed a transitional council. President Masoud Pezeshkian, Chief Justice Gholam Hossein Mohseni-Ejei, and Ayatollah Ali Reza Arafi. A 2,500-year-old civilization is once again in flames. But how did it all come to this? It all started in the mid-6th century BCE, in the fertile valleys at the foot of the Zagros Mountains. A young king, Cyrus II from the Persian Achaemenid tribe, overthrew his grandfather, the ruler of the Medes, and in just 20 years built an empire stretching from the Indus River to the Mediterranean Sea. He didn't just conquer lands. Cyrus let conquered peoples keep their laws, gods, and customs, something no conqueror before him had done on that scale. That's why Babylon surrendered almost without a fight, and Egypt and Lydia accepted the new ruler. His famous Cyrus Cylinder, a clay document found in Babylon, is still called the first declaration of human rights in history. It records the freeing of captives and a ban on enslaving entire peoples. Few people know this, but the Persians were the first to abolish slavery on a massive scale in conquered territories. It even shocked the Greeks, who themselves held thousands of slaves. After Cyrus's death, his son Cambyses continued his father's work and took Egypt. Then came Darius I, who wasn't Cyrus's direct son but married his daughter, and he realized conquest had to become a system, or it would all fall apart. Darius divided the vast territory into 20 satrapies, appointed governors in each, and introduced a single gold coin. He built the royal road over 1,500 miles long from Susa to Sardis and created the world's first real postal service. Couriers changed horses every 14 miles and could deliver a message across the empire in a week. The economy boomed. Caravans traveled the Silk Road, taxes flowed steadily, and Persian engineers perfected ancient underground aqueducts, qanats, that still irrigate Iranian oases today. But ambition grew faster than administration. Darius decided to punish the Greeks for supporting the Ionian revolt. His son Xerxes continued the policy, and in 480 BCE, he crossed the Hellespont on a pontoon bridge made of ships. Thermopylae, Salamis, Plataea, the Persians were defeated. But the empire didn't collapse. It just pulled back and kept living by its own rules. Then, in 330 BCE, Alexander the Great arrived. Persepolis burned. Officially, it was revenge for the burning of Athens. There's a theory it happened accidentally during a drunken party, on the advice of the Athenian courtesan Thais. The Achaemenid Empire fell, but the Persian spirit never died. After Alexander's death, the Parthians drove out his Greek successors and built a new empire that held Rome at bay in the east for almost 400 years. In 224 CE, the Sassanids overthrew the Parthians and brought back Iran's former glory. Shapur I even captured the Roman Emperor Valerian. Rome had never suffered such humiliation. The Sassanids made Zoroastrianism the state religion, advanced science and medicine, and their engineers perfected those ancient qanats. In 651 CE, Arab armies, fueled by their new faith, defeated the Sassanids exhausted from endless wars with Byzantium at the Battle of Al-Qadisiyah. The Persians accepted Islam, but they didn't dissolve into it. They kept their language, poetry, and pride. Dynasties came and went until the 13th century, when the Mongol storm hit. Cities turned to ash, but even the Mongol Ilkhanids eventually converted to Islam and became patrons of Persian culture. Then, in 1501, everything truly changed. Young Ismail I from the Safavid Sufi order declared Shi'ism the state religion. He did it to unite a fractured people against the Sunni Ottomans and Uzbeks. Sometimes Shi'ism was imposed by force, but this branch of Islam became the thread that still sets Iran apart from the rest of the Muslim world. Under the Safavids, Persian carpets and miniatures reached their peak. Little-known fact: that's when the ancient qanats turned lifeless deserts into blooming gardens. And in the mountains of Alamut, a secret sect called the Hashashin once operated. From their name came the European word assassin. By the 18th century, the Safavids weakened. Nader Shah Afshar, a former shepherd, briefly restored power. He crushed the Ottomans and in 1739 sacked Delhi, hauling away so much treasure that he cancelled taxes for 3 years. After his death came chaos. The Qajars took over, and Russia and Britain started carving up the country over oil and concessions. In 1906, Iranians carried out Asia's first constitutional revolution and demanded a parliament. In 1921, Cossack Brigade officer Reza Khan staged a coup. In 1925, he became Shah, renamed the country from Persia to Iran, built railroads and universities, and banned the chador. His son, Mohammad Reza, took the throne in 1941 after the Allies exiled his father. Oil brought massive wealth. In 1951, Prime Minister Masada nationalized oil. The people cheered. But in 1953, the CIA and MI6 orchestrated a coup. The Shah returned, and Iranians learned a bitter lesson: the West wouldn't tolerate real independence. The Shah launched the White Revolution. Land to peasants, rights for women, factories built. The 1970s were a golden oil boom. Tehran gleamed with skyscrapers. Women took off the chador. But corruption grew. The gap between rich and poor widened, and the secret police Savak turned brutal. Clerics, leftists, and liberals united against the American puppet. Ayatollah Khomeini, exiled since 1964, dictated cassette tapes smuggled into mosques from Paris. In 1978, protests exploded into revolution. The Shah fled in January 1979. On February 1, Khomeini returned. The monarchy collapsed in days. The Islamic Republic was born. The 8-year war with Iraq, from 1988 cost 1 million. 1988 cost 1 million lives, but the country held on. Then came sanctions, the nuclear program, mass protests like Woman, Life, Freedom. And now, the 1st of March 2026, Khamenei is dead, the Transitional Council is in place, and Iran is in open war again. Thoughts? In my view, Iran has always gotten one thing right: it survives. Achaemenids, Alexander, Mongols, Shahs, revolution, every time. The country rises from the ashes thanks to the incredible resilience of its people. But after 1979, the choice of rigid theocracy and constant confrontation with the West led to isolation and today's strike. It was a path of pride and independence, but it came at a huge cost to ordinary people. Where does this lead? The Transitional Council could open the door to reforms and lift at least some sanctions, or it could double down on the old line and face even more blows. There are two possible paths. Either Iran finally becomes a true bridge between East and West, or it retreats into deep defense again. Honestly, I wouldn't want to live in a country where one social media post or removing a headscarf can land you in prison. But I deeply respect a people who haven't surrendered for 2,500. Now the question for you. After everything Iran has been through, should the new Transitional Council compromise with the world or keep the death to enemies path? Drop your honest thoughts in the comments about the future of this eternal civilization. We read every single one. See you in the next episode.